Shira, it's great to have you, to see you. Shira is the Educational Director of the Women's Bet Midrash and graduate of the Midrash at Lindenbaum Halachic Leadership Program, and we're very happy to hear from you tonight. Shira, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah Jo, for opening, and thank you everyone for joining. I kept forgetting to ask in the previous weeks, anyone who wants to open your cameras and extend the feeling of joint community sitting here together tonight, you're welcome to do so. And if you prefer, the privacy of keeping your camera closed, that's perfectly fine too. And I'm also encouraging you to join in on the conversation tonight, and not just hearing what I have to say. I would like to speak tonight about the topic called Tfilah b'shat sakana, a prayer that someone says during a time or a place of danger. Actually, when I first prepared the shiur, I put down the title and I wrote b'shat sakana, the time of danger. But actually, the more accurate title would be a place of danger, because the words of Rabbi Yoshua in the Mishnah, as you could see in front of us here, Rabbi Yoshua says, "Hamehalech b'makom sakana." When one is walking in a place of danger, mitpalel tfilah ktsara. There's the translation here also below. I'll flip between the English and the Hebrew. But yet I decided to keep the title the way it is, and I hope I will justify this mistake, typo, through our learnings. And although I started the source sheet with Mishnah Gimel, I want to start with Mishnah Daled, jump straight into the words of Rabbi Yoshua. So I'll also scroll down to the English translation, and starting here, I'll highlight his words just so you could follow. So Rabbi Yoshua says, one who is walking in a place of danger recites a brief prayer and says, "Redeem, Lord, your people, the remnant of Israel." Sorry for my pronunciation. At every transition, and this is a translation of the words Parashat Ha'ibur, at Parashat Ha'ibur, Bekol Parashat Ha'ibur. So maybe we should focus more on the original rather than on the translation and try to understand it in a second. So, redeem, Lord, your people, the remnant of Israel. At Bechol Parashat Ha'ibur, may their needs be before you. Blessed are you, Lord, who listens to prayer. And I want to invite anyone who wants to open your, unmute yourself and tell me, what do you understand from this prayer? What are we exactly saying? What are we asking for in these very brief words? It's definitely a tfilah ktsara, a brief prayer. I'll try to keep the Hebrew in here too, so you could look at the Hebrew and English simultaneously with your thoughts. Any suggestions as to what is Parashat Ha'ibur?
It's Keilu talking about the time when when they have to decide whether to le'aber et hachodesh or not, as in, has the winter been long enough?
And that's when people are walking in a place of danger, and that's when we need to ask that our needs will be before you.
Well, when it's Parashat Ha'ibur, and basically what we're doing is we're changing when Yom Kippur will be next year. So I would suppose one feels more that this is a dangerous time when people are deciding when the next Chagim will be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That was actually my first initial understanding of this term too, because it's definitely unclear. Anyone else want to share other thoughts?
Is it sort of also from the root ma'avar or avar, like to, pass through a place that maybe like from one place to another, if it's in English, the transition. So be from, you were in a place and now you're walking to another place. And in this other, and during this transition period, it's perhaps a place that you're not used to, that you're afraid that, you might be attacked, you might be just putting your life in danger. And so, but you're making it yourself part of the klal, and in doing so, you're not just asking for your own safety, but you're asking for, for everyone in every transition, every place where we might be having doubts or fears of of not being safe, to that Hashem should hear us and protect us.
Thank you. Wow, that's a beautiful interpretation. So Parashat Eibur being a ma'avar, whenever we are on a passage, place in danger. Maybe Parashat Drachim, ma'avar, going through when. So it really fits in with the title, Hamehalech b'mekom sakana, right? Someone who's walking in a place of danger is asking that while he's in this crossroads of danger, is asking for his needs to be answered. And you're adding in another point, that this prayer is a person who's personally in a place of danger, but he is including everyone in his prayer, and asking in the plural form and not only in the singular form. So I want to, unless anyone else wants to, barge in and share more thoughts, I want to take these thoughts and take them a step forward and ask ourselves, and maybe even take a moment. I didn't say this is going to be a creative writing workshop, but maybe even take 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute. If you probably don't have a pen and paper right next to you, you could type on your computer or on your phone. You probably have, a notes to yourself app. And ask yourself, what would you ask for? What would I ask for in the event that I am in a place of danger? What would your words be? What would you say at that moment of danger? And think of different situations that you're in danger, right? I didn't ask another question. What is a place of danger? Is it something of ordinary? Is a place of danger Kvisha Minarot, driving from Efrat and Gush Etzion to Jerusalem because I'm on the highway, or maybe Jerusalem to Tel Aviv road, or is it something extraordinary? I took the wrong road turn and now I'm in the middle of Beit Lechem, or something peculiar, or I'm out in a place of danger in a war. Is it a place of danger because I'm hiking? And it's more dangerous because there could be a flood. What is that place of danger? And what would you be asking when you are at such a moment?
To be able to come to my destination unharmed.
Reach my destination unharmed.
The bit of being in transition between A and B is something we know about Parashat Egla Arufa, when a person is neither, and as Kenim Shel Shum Ir don't want to proclaim. It's a shet, no man's land. So definitely it's a time of danger. Ibur might also be procrastination, as in Brurvu, because that is when a woman is meuberet, it means she's pregnant. But it doesn't sound hegioni in the context of sakana, unless you're saying when a woman is pregnant, then that is shat sakana, and in a way it is. But it doesn't make sense. Kilu ze besograyim.
The Parashat Eibur thing doesn't seem like a focal point in the discussion. So here, Sarah Jo texted on the chat, if I hope it's okay to read it out loud. Your personal prayer at such a moment would be Shira Ma'alot, Esai Enai El Ha'arim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Right? Ezri Me'im Hashem, Oseh Shemayim V'Aretz. So our immediate thoughts are some prayer that we are very familiar with. I'd say, which also, I guess, echoes our feelings. I know that preparing this shiur for me was extraordinary, because the first week or so, and I understand that my feelings were mutual with many people, I could not find any words for prayer, let alone prepare a shiur, teach Torah, study Torah. I couldn't open a book. I was frozen. And the first place I was able to slowly unwind, defrost, come back to the sources was through Tehillim, through the words of David HaMelech. I started reading a few chapters from Tehillim, and I felt that they echoed my feelings so accurately. It was almost shocking. But I don't know, Sarah Jo, if that's what you meant, if those were your feelings when you chose these words. But that's where where I feel them when I see your words. Did anyone think of something you'd say in your prayer that you want to share? I'm thinking maybe instead of going on to the Tosefta, I want to skip straight to the Gemara. I do not have a translation of the Gemara, but we'll try to interpret it together. Then we'll come back to the Tosefta. Because of those words, Parashat Ha'ibur. What is Parashat Ha'ibur? What is that time of Zimmer? None of you addressed my question as to what place is it that the Tefillah is referring to, Rabbi Yoshua is referring to. So here is the Gemara. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah saying, Rabbi Yoshua Omer HaMe'alech Bimkom Sakana מתפלל תפילה קצרה וכולי בכל פרשת העיבור. So it's quoting the Mishnah and saying, my פרשת העיבור, what is פרשת העיבור? What are these weird, unclear words, right? So we have here two statements in the name of Rav Chisda, quoting Mar Ukva, his teacher, or some previous teacher that he received a teaching from. And I think it's interesting, because I think the two statements are saying more or less the same thing, but at the same time, they're totally different. אפילו בשעה שאתה מתמלא עליהם עברה כאישה וברה. Even at a time when you're so mad, the ibur is from the root of ever, of evra, anger. You're so angry. You're so full of anger at us. Yeah, we're speaking to Hashem. Hashem, you're filling with anger at us, wrath. Just like a pregnant woman, the belly's full of a baby, right? So you're full of anger at us. That angry, even then, all of their needs, our needs, their needs, will be before you. Remember our needs. The second statement, Ika de Amre, right? It's another version to Rav Chisda's teaching in the name of Rav Mar Ukva. Afilu b'sha'a shem obrim al divrei Torah. So the la'avor is not filling up with anger, but to pass. The people of Israel are not fulfilling the Torah, which, as I said, it seems like it's the exact same thing. I mean, why would he be full of anger at us? Because we are ovrim al divrei Torah, we are not fulfilling his words of Torah. And yet, I feel that it's a totally different perspective, because it's the focus on Hashem's anger or on our behavior. And again, it's interesting that it's in the third person, but it might be, he's in the middle of a shiur, he's explaining the word, so maybe it's not the actual words of the prayer. If he would have phrased it in a way of prayer, maybe he would have done it in the second or first person. Even if they're not fulfilling the Torah, all their needs will be before you. And that raises a new question. What is the meaning of this statement? I mean, what are our needs? Not to be in danger, please. I mean, I'm reading all of these sources, not, in a vacuum without a context. I'm thinking explicitly about some horrible time of Sakana, October 7th, Simchat Torah, all the events that took place there, are we asking Hashem, please, don't make it happen? Or maybe inside this horrific situation where you're so full of anger at us, answer our needs. Have the people hiding in shelters for hours feel that you are with them. All the different miracles that we are describing of people finding different places and actions of chesed, are those called tzolkeim lefanecha? We could, go out of that one horrific day and think about the ongoing time, maybe even at the time of sakana, mekom sakana, parashat ha'ibur. We're asking, please help all these soldiers who are fighting, all the women who are alone without their husbands for weeks, over weeks, with children or alone, that they will have their needs answered. What is it called? What exactly are we asking for within this place of sakana, within this time of sakana? I'm just throwing, a few thoughts, and I'm trying not to limit our interpretation to one perspective, but again, you're welcome to join in with other thoughts. They could be totally different thoughts than what I'm thinking.
It looks to me that when they were trying to analyze what a person who is feeling endangered and in his dark time wants to say, very few words that will cover. So they're not saying anything specific. That's why Parashat Ha'ibur was something that needed explaining. Because what they're saying, if you feel you need it, this is a sharp thing to say. It's like those soldiers saying Shema Israel, so the people in the Mamad would actually trust them not to be Hamas. So you need a code. So this is a code. You know what I need. I'm not going to specify, but if what I need right now is a raincoat because I'm getting wet, or a tank full of army, what I need, I trust you to help me. I'm not going to start putting out a list.
So what you're saying is, it doesn't matter what exactly it is. We don't need to think about something specific, but rather this is a very short-coded tefillah at a time that we don't have time to say, what our needs are. Please answer our needs. And I think that's a great comment to take us back to the Tosefta. And although I find it difficult to read in English something that is in my head in Hebrew, we will put the Hebrew on the side and focus directly on the English. And if only, I'll scroll back and forth. So here's the Tosefta. I hope the translation is good. I read it very quickly as I added it to the source sheet. It's all of my translations are from Sefaria. Thank you, Sefaria, for existing. If a person was walking in a dangerous place where there are robbers, for example, or where there are robbers, okay, dangerous place or where there are robbers, he should pray a short prayer. What is a short prayer? So the Tosefta is basically a text here that is parallel to the Mishnah, but in our case, it is extending. In the Mishnah, we had Rabbi Yoshua, and he gave us one tefillah k'tzara. In this case, we'll have Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok, and others. We'll have 4 different options, versions of short prayers to say at time of danger. Rabbi Elazar says, do your will in heaven above, and give pleasure to those that fear you on earth, and do what is good in your eyes. Bless the one that hears prayer. Rabbi Yossi says, hear the voice of the prayer of your nation Israel, and fulfill their requests quickly. Blessed the one that hears prayer. The Hebrew of this is Baruch Shomea Tefillah. Bless the one that hears prayer. Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok says, hear the voice of the cry of your nation Israel, and fulfill their requests quickly. Blessed the one that hears prayer. Others say, your nation Israel has many needs. but they are short-minded. May it be your will, Hashem, our God, that you may give to each one all of his needs, and to each creature, so that they should not lack. Bless the one that hears prayer. So we have here 4 different tefillot that are really 3, because Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok are almost the same. One says, hear the voice of the prayers of your nation, Israel, and hear the voice of the cry of your nation, Israel. So he's just adding in the tze'aka, the cry of the nation of Israel. But other than that, it's the same. I find Rabbi Elazar's prayer to be fascinating. Because at a time of danger, what he's saying is, Hashem, do your will in the heaven above, and do what is good in your eyes. It's a total, I'm forgetting my English. It's like bitul atzmi. So like, it doesn't matter we don't understand what's happening. We don't understand why you're doing it. Do whatever it is, the will in your heaven above, right? You're above Shamayim LaHashem, I'm here in the earth. We do not understand why you're doing it. Just do your will in the heaven above. He does add in the middle beautifully, and give pleasure to those that fear on your earth. Yeah, please do something that will be giving us pleasure. It's not ignoring our needs and our prayers, but I think the beginning and the ending, and I will go to the Hebrew, because the words in Hebrew, I think it's just a beautiful prayer. As much as it might be difficult, or maybe we do identify with it, but still find it difficult to feel that way. Aser ratzoncha b'shamayim mima'al, v'ten nachat ruach lire'echa, nachat ruach, yeah, pleasure, ve'atov b'einecha aseh. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. And I'll also read the prayer of Acherim from here, just so you could compare it to the translation. And I think that connects to what you said, Ayelet. Tzorchei amcha merubim. The needs of your people are many, are plenty. V'da'atan k'tzara. We're in a place of danger, in a place of robbers. We don't have time to focus on a long prayer or start thinking what are the words we want to say, creative writing. Yeah, right now. Right? Our needs are many. We're not able to concentrate on this, right? We're in the middle of war, or we're just very, very, very preoccupied. Please, Hashem, just give each person their needs. You know what their needs are. To each person what they need to fulfill. So that's a prayer of Acharim. And I think to a certain extent, it seems very right, like that. Very brief, short version of the tefillah. And I want to point out something interesting in the Gemara. When they quote this Tosefta, there's a few differences. One of them is that instead of Rabbi Yossi, it's Rabbi Yoshua. Same Rabbi Yoshua we met in the Mishnah. And it doesn't just say Shma Litfilat Amcha Yisrael, it says Shma Shav'at Amcha Yisrael. And then you have Shav'at, the deep, from the deep of the heart, or from the belly, right? Cry out to Hashem, as opposed to Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok, it just says called tze'aka, the cry. So it's 2 different levels of crying. And it seems to me that these 3-4 versions of prayer, plus the version of Rabbi Yoshua at the beginning, right? Oshea Hashem et amcha et sherit Yisrael, give us a variety of tefillot that we could choose from when we are in different places of danger, right? You all chose to remain silent, but no one addressed my question about what is the place of danger that they're referring to here. Is it when I'm mehalech baderachim, right? Just walking down, going on the road, driving on Kvish HaMinarot to Jerusalem. And I know it's not, I'm aware that my choice of a road is a road that is considered dangerous also because of the shooting and stoning on the road. But we could also take, the road from the highway. Just getting in the car and driving is a place of danger, right? I mean, flying in a plane, we say hagomel, even though it's considered a very safe means of transportation. So maybe that's the place of sakana, right? So we have here different types of prayers for different types of sakana, for different types of places of danger that we are in, and that we could choose to say, and that we could identify with. It could be different people in the same situation, each choosing a different prayer. And it could be the same person in different types of situations. Another example I was thinking of, time of sakana, could be going into a surgery, life-threatening, maybe not life-threatening surgery for someone who's very ill. Is also a place of danger where we might want to say these prayers. And I still need to justify the title, right? I said Shat Sakana, Mekom Sakana. I think you could still say, right, we're talking about different places and times of danger. And yet, I did start this source sheet with a Mishnah Gimel in the Mishnah. So now let's go back to it. Rabban Gamliel Omer, Bechol Yom Mitpalel Adam 18, each and every day a person recites the prayer of 18 blessings. That's Tfilat Amidah 18 that we say every day. Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Me'ein 18. Rabbi Yoshua says in an abridged version of the prayer of 18 blessings. Basically, Rabbi Yoshua is saying every single day it's sufficient to say a short, abridged version of 18. How many of you are saying, yay, I could say 5 minutes every morning and afternoon and night? Thank you, Rabbi Yoshua. Where were you till now? Right? But halacha is Rabban Gamliel. We don't say Me'ein 18. Rabbi Akiva Omer, אם שגורה תפילתו בפיו, יתפלל 18. ואם לאו, מאין 18. Rabbi Akiva says, if he is fluent in his prayer, he recites the prayer of 18 blessings. And if not, an abridged version of the prayer of 18 blessings. I will read also the beginning of Mishnah Daled, that I skipped. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, העושה תפילתו קבע, אין תפילתו תחנונים. Rabbi Eliezer says, one whose prayer is fixed, his prayer is not supplication. So what's happening here? And then Rabbi Yoshua's words about a me'alech b'mkom sakana, someone who's walking in a place of danger, is in the context of these statements of Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Eliezer. And again, Rabbi Yoshua coming back with another statement. These two Mishnayot are the sages right after the generation, right after the second temple is destroyed. Rabbi Akiva is the younger of this clan of great, amazing Torah scholars. He was around 6 years old during the Churban Beit HaMikdash, when the temple was destroyed, and the others were already Torah scholars at the time. And in the generation after the destruction of the temple, they know that there is no nevuah, right? There hasn't been nevuah for a few hundred years. And as opposed to the first temple, when they had Yirmiyahu saying, it's a horrible thing that just happened, but don't worry, in 70 years you will return to Jerusalem and you will rebuild the temple and come back to Zion. When the second temple is destroyed, they do not know how long it will take until the return to Zion, until the rebuilding of the temple. And they do a lot of actions, the sages at this point of history, to keep the unity of the people of Israel throughout history. They know that the temple is destroyed. They know that there's a huge community in Bavel that has been there since the first temple was destroyed and are not rushing back. There's a big community in Israel. There's a community in Rome. There's a community in Alexandria. And we know how far and out the communities have reached throughout history. And they do a lot of actions to keep the unity of the people of Israel, one of which is creating the formula of the tefillah, of the prayer. What we see here is the work in action. They are working on formalizing the tefillah. There is a concept of 3 prayers a day. There is a concept of 18 blessings, but there's Me'ein 18, there's a bridge version, there's a full version that they are just now writing out with the help of another sage called Shmuel HaKatan. And they are discussing exactly what will be the tefillah every single day. And Rabban Gamliel says every day everyone needs to say the full Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi Yosh says no, the abridged version is enough. Rabbi Akiva gives us an intermediate version. Rabbi Eliezer says, and I've had arguments with a few people about the exact interpretation of his words, but I interpret his words saying, I disagree with this whole concept of Tfilat Keva. We do not have a permanent prayer that we say every single day, a permanent text. Not. I disagree with it, says Rabbi Eliezer, according to my interpretation. As I said, others interpret it a little differently, and they're trying to decide how will it be. And in this context, it seems like they are saying every day, every person says 18 prayers. If they don't have, it's not fluent, they don't have time, they will say the abridged version. And when they are in the time of sakana, when they are walking on the road and they're in a place of danger, they do not have time to say Shmoneh Esrei, then Rabbi Yoshua says we need to say an abridged, an even shorter version of the abridged version, a very short prayer. And in that context, interestingly, I at least find it the fourth version in the Tosefta of Acherim is very, very concise. Shmoneh Esrei. Our needs are plenty. We don't have time to spell out 18 blessings right now. Please just give every person his needs. You know what their needs are. We don't even have time to think of saying them. And in the Gemara, the conclusion of this very short sugya after they quote this Tosefta is Rav Huna, who says halacha ke'acherim, and that's how it is pasken in the Rif and the Rosh and the Rambam, and that's the halacha. So it seems that I am wrong in calling this title, the title of the shiur, Sh'at Sakana, a time of danger, because when you see the full context, it's talking about a place of danger. And it's time to say Shmoneh Esrei. I do not have time to say Shmoneh Esrei. I say a very, very short version. And I could also, I didn't bring it in here. It's not even only in Hebrew, so I'll just say it orally. The Gemara discusses the Tfilat Me'en Shmoneh Esrei that is mentioned in the Mishnah here, with between Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Akiva and so on. And they give this prayer name. They have this tefillah, and it's called Tfilat Havineinu. And I'll read it to you if you'll wait just a second. I sent it to myself. I forgot to open it before the class, because interestingly, the Rav Re'em HaKohen, he discussed this tefillah recently, saying that there are times when a soldier does not have time to daven the full Shmoneh Esrei, and in this case, he should daven Havineinu. And he refers not explicitly to the fact that many Sidurim today do not have Havineinu printed out in the Sidur itself. I checked one or two Sidurim, and I indeed did not find it, but I did not do it, like academically checking many Sidurim.
Shira?
Yes.
Excuse me. It is in the Rinat Yisrael.
It is right, very right. I was told that it is in Rinat Yisrael.
It's at the end of Shacharit. It's like
at the end of Shacharit. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's in Koren, and I saw some other Sidur that I looked at, that I picked up the next day after I read this post with the words of the Rav Re'em, and I did not find it there. But that's right, it's in Rinat Yisrael. So he refers to it and says it should be printed out in Sidurim for these such cases. And when I was reading this post, it also had the text of Havineinu. So I'll read Havineinu, and then I'll point out an interesting halakha between the Tfilah Ktsara and Havineinu. Havineinu is not Rabbi Yoshua's prayer of Mehalech Bimkom Sakana. It's Rabbi Yoshua Omer Me'en Shmoneh Esrei. It's the abridged version. Havineinu Hashem Eloheinu. I'm sorry that I'm not translating this to English, but hopefully if everyone here has been saying Shmoneh Esrei in Hebrew, you'll see how each 3 words are a different one of the Shmoneh Esrei, 13 blessings in the center. Havineinu Hashem Eloheinu, ladat derachecha, umolet levavenu leiratecha, v'tislach lanu liot geulim, v'rachakenu mimakov, וברך שנתנו בגשמי ברכה, ונפוצותינו מארבע תקבץ, והטועים על דעתך ישפטו, ועל הרשעים תניף ידיך. וישמחו צדיקים בבניין עירך, ובתיקון היכליך, ובצמיחת קרן לדוד עבדיך, ובעריכת נר לבן ישי משיחך. טרם נקרא, אתה תענה. ברוך אתה השם, שומע תפילה. That's, I think it's beautiful. I think all of the tefillah is beautiful. When I teach tefillah to my students, every word I read, I think is very beautiful, because I think the sages, when they were writing out the tefillah, they thought of every single word, and every word is like perfect and exact and accurate. So also here in Avinein, it is in such a way. So in the Gemara, they ask, when what's the difference between the tefillah k'tzara and me'en shmones and Havineinu? And they say, when you say Havineinu, you need to say it with the three brachot, Avot, Gvorot, and Kedushat Hashem, and then you say Havineinu, and then you say the last three brachot, Vetzeh Modim and Shalom. But the tefillah k'tzara, me'alech b'mkom sakana, in the place of danger, no. You do not say the three blessings before and after. You just say the brief line of the tefillah k'tzara. And
to solve different problems.
It's what?
It's to solve different problems. One
It
is a person can't say the entirety and it's shacharit time, but a time of danger can be, you've already said shacharit, it's not yet mincha, but you're in the danger.
No. That's what I'm saying. Initially, you are right. When we read the Rabbi Yoshua's Hame'alech B'mkom Sakana out of context, it's like whenever I feel a need to daven, cry out to Hashem from a place of danger, but when you read it in the context of Mishnah Gimel and also the discussion in the Gemara, this is a replacement for Tfilat Shmona Esrei. And that's what I was about to say is if after you're in the place of danger or in the place for Avineinu, you reach a place where you know Makom Yishuv, which I think is not just out of the highway, which is a dangerous place, but Makom Yishuv Adat, a place where your mind is settled and you could just like focus on the tefillah. If it's still time, you could still have time to say Shmona Esrei. If you said Havineinu because you said the three brachot before and at the end, you do not need. You've fulfilled your mitzvah of Shmona Esrei, but if you said this tefillah k'tzara, you still need to daven Shmona Esrei because it's specifically tefillah Shmona Esrei. So how could I justify the title I gave, right? So that means I indeed made a typo and I made a mistake in the name of the shiur. And yet when I read the prayers themselves, I feel that they're calling out. I mean, when I was studying this sugya for the first time, I had to read it for a few times myself to realize, what's the context. And by the way, when I copied the text from Sefaria, in the text from the Tosefta, there were brackets of interpretation that I took out because they write explicitly when in time of sakana and it's time to daven Shmona Esrei, then you say this because that is the conclusion of the sugya. That's the context. And yet, when you listen to the words of the tefillah, even the tefillah of Rabbi Yeshua in the Mishnah, he says, Hoshea Hashem. I don't know. I hear it as a calling out in a time of, of danger. And what is he saying? Et amcha, et she'erit Israel, the remnants of Israel, whatever's left of us at this horrific time, right? I maybe I'm putting more into the words than he meant. That's the way I personally read these words, and I feel that when we different times we use different idioms, right? Different ways to call Hashem that are relevant to the context. Different ways to give names to the people of Israel are relevant. And if he's choosing Sherit Israel and not Am Sula or Amcha without Sherit, so he's talking about a time of suffering, and I feel that there's a story inside a story. We have the outer picture. We have the general context of this tefillah, of the sugya in the Mishnah and the Gemara, discussing Shmona Esrei and the different types of Shmona Esrei that we say at different times. The regular Shmona Esrei, Havineinu, that Rav Re'em is now saying we should use in the time of sakana, right? And the tefillah b'shat sakana, but the sugya itself, the Tosefta, in the which was implemented into the Gemara with the 4 different types of tefillot. I feel that there's a story inside a story, giving us also giving us words and feeling to our feelings at different places that we are, different times of danger. And I have a little bit of time because we usually this shiur continues till 9, so I'll add an interesting anecdote, which is in between the world of academic world and the yeshivish world. The Rishonim noticed that in the Gemara, I mentioned that in the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi's opinion from the Tosefta is Rabbi Yoshua. And the Rishonim say, wait a minute. Either Rabbi Yoshua said the version of the Tefillah K'tzara in the Mishnah, or the version in the Tosefta. There must be a mistake. So I'm scrolling down to the second half of the source sheet. I did not put translations to it, so I have to translate myself. Firstly, this is the Gemara here. Rabbi Yoshua, I highlighted these things. Rabbi Yoshua instead of Rabbi Yosei. Other than that, these things that are highlighted are the, if I remember correctly, are all the differences from the Tosefta. And this is the Rosh and the Rambam, whose psika that I mentioned beforehand. So the Maharam Bennett, who was a student of Rabbi Noda Yehuda, he was a Torah scholar in the Rosh Yeshiva in Hungary, in the that's approximately, I think, 19th century or so. So he says, "Kol meimra de Rabbi Yoshua ta'ut fosi." It's a mistake, like the printers of the Gemara, they made a mistake. It can't be Rabbi Yoshua, because the habe matnita ita nuscha mishma. In the Mishnah, there's a different version of the tefillah in his name. The gamba Tosefta later, he doesn't appear in the Tosefta either. And he says we only need to have just the version of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Tzadok. He doesn't mention Rabbi Yossi from the Tosefta. And he refers to Rashi, saying that what Rashi says, we'll see it, it's right here. Gnicha yoter mitzeaka. That's what Rashi says, that the Shav'ah is like crying out, that is like from deeper down than a tzeaka. And he refers to a few other Parshanim who also point out this like disturbing issue. And I want to read a few words from the Tzlach. The Tzion Lenefesh Chaya, this is the Noda Yehuda, this is the Maharam Bennett's teacher from Prague in the 18th century. And he says, it seems like it's a problem. He also says, I'm not going to read the first paragraph, but he basically says, the bottom line is also Rabbi Yoshua's opinion from the Mishnah, and also Rabbi Yoshua in the Tosefta, and all the different opinions, and even the explanation of what's Parashat Ha'ibur is all, it's not le'alacha, because the halacha is ke'acherim, like the Rambam said. So my whole discussion is not, le'alacha, but I've got a beautiful vote, says the Tzlach. And he says that, if you notice, I highlighted Hamehalech bimkom gdudei sakana v'listim in the Gemara. The Baraita doesn't say mekom sakana, it says gdudein. Like it's a different type of danger. He says there's a totally different type, it's two different types of danger. The Mishnah says mekom sakana, and the Tosefta is talking about a different type of situation, mekom gdudei chaya v'listim, places where there's animals, wild animals, and thieves that could attack you on the road. And the Mishnah, the Parashat Ha'ibur version, מקום סכנה במשנתנו שיש קוצים וברקנים ופחתים בדרך. It's like, you're going on the highway to Yerushalayim, you're in the road, and there's at that time they didn't have highways, they had thorns, and they might have holes in the road that you could fall in. ודברים כאלו יש יכולת ביד האדם לשמור עצמו. A man could guard himself from those things when he's on the road. You just need to drive very carefully and not put yourself in a danger, getting into a car accident, or riding with a bicycle, ride carefully, put on a helmet. ואף על פי כן צריך רחמים שלא ישגה על ידי העלמת עין או שכחה וטרדה במחשבתו. That's the first tefillah of Rabbi Yoshua in the Mishnah, just to protect himself. You still need some protection, so you won't be daydreaming or thinking, talking on the phone, and you'll overlook something and fall and get hurt on the road. But the sakana shebabraita umechayot velistim, that's from animals, that's from robbers. שבזה צריך שמירה יתרה מן השמיים, ואין מועיל בזה מה שהאדם משמר עצמו. כי אין הדבר better. Says wild animals and robbers, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. You need extra double protection on the road. שהשמירה קשה מאוד. גם כן צריך שמירה יותר משמירת פחתים וברקנים. It need more protection than, you know, just thorns and holes on the road. ולכן במשנתנו שמרי במקום סכנה מצד המקום ולא מחמת חיות וליסטין, די בתפילת הושע, the first prayer of יהושע, רבי יהושע in the משנה, there's no, אין בזה פלוגתא, there's no מחלוקת, there's no other versions, that's enough. It still doesn't explain why he says הושע השם את עמך את שארית ישראל, the remnants of Israel, so maybe Shira is putting more into those words than he meant, but I think it's a beautiful, beautiful vote and distinction here. ובברייתא שמיירי במקום גדודי חייו וליסטין צריך להעמיק בתפילה יותר, ובזה נחלקו התנאים בנוסחת התפילה. So in the case in the ברייתא needs more protection, and there's 4 different versions there. And he mentions at the end, it says, it's interesting that the Rambam did not notice this. Nobody noticed it. I'm the first person to have noticed this difference between the Mishnah, and he explains that they must have had a different version of the Gemara that was more similar to the Tosefta, which is why they overlooked this, you know, thing that is so clear as it is in my eyes. I think what I like so much about his words about offering these 2 different types of places of sakana, there's stuff that we could do at times of sakana that we could protect ourselves. We could do things, we could be active, but there's so many people at this time, especially during this war, and I identify with them, that we feel helpless. We feel there's nothing we could do. And I'm also thinking of people who sat for hours, you know, in their shelters waiting to be saved, and this feeling of choser onim, of there's nothing you could do. There's nothing you could do to protect yourself at that moment, or just a feeling that, you know, there's nothing you could do because you can't go to the army. You're busy taking care of kids or grandchildren, or, you know, you're not needed for anything. You know, crucial. You know, I've read people saying, this is the first time I ever wanted to be a soldier, and I'm not. I can't be. I want to go out to the front lines, and these different types of places where it's not in our hands. The tzlach, the Cheskel Landa is giving us words. Is giving us some place, giving us identification. So that's what I really love, this beautiful Perush by the Tzlach. I only read, as I said, part of it. Maybe as a side comment in between the world of academia and yeshiva, it as an academic, you know, I could also say, oh yeah, it's a mistake in the printing. Let's go open up the manuscripts and solve this. The Tzlach here is saying, no, I refuse to say there's a mistake in the text of the Gemara. And therefore, he must search for a different explanation. And we would have missed out this beautiful teaching if he had, you know, gone like his student, the Maharam Bennett. What the Maharam Bennett is saying, that there's a mistake in the text, is, you know, it's like a little earthquake in the world of parshanut, of interpretation. And here, the Nadav Yehuda is saying, no, I refuse to go down that path. He also refers to some other Perush that is trying to offer something similar. He's saying, no, this is the text. I will explore it. I'll implore it and find the right answer. I'll find the way to explain how it works out. And we found here a beautiful Perush that I think we wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's just another side comment, side anecdote. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. And a prayer that we'll always find the prayers that we want to say, that we need to say at the time that we need to say them.
We need somebody to give this one a tune. That way we can remember it when we're there, because what you remember is things that have a tune.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Shira.
Sure.
So,
Thank you, Shira.
Danava.
Shira.